Ever watched someone say goodbye to the world without saying a single word? July 12th, 1986, Wembley Stadium, London. 72,000 people screaming Freddie Mercury's name, completely unaware they were witnessing the beginning of an ending. What happened in those final moments on stage would remain hidden for years, a secret carried by only 5 people until now. If you love discovering the untold stories behind music history's most powerful moments, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell because we're about to reveal what really happened the night Freddie Mercury gave his silent farewell.
3 months before Wembley, April 1986, Harley Street, London. Freddie Mercury sat in Dr. Gordon Atkinson's private consultation room, his hands perfectly still on his lap. Outside, London moved at its usual pace. Inside this room, time had stopped. "Mr. Mercury, I'm afraid the test results are conclusive." Dr. Atkinson's words hung in the air like smoke. Freddie didn't ask him to repeat it. He didn't need to. He'd known something was wrong for months. The strange lesions, the exhaustion that no amount of rest could cure, the weight loss he'd been hiding under increasingly flamboyant stage costumes. "How long?" Freddie asked quietly. Dr. Atkinson hesitated. In 1986, an AIDS diagnosis was a death sentence. There were no cocktails of drugs, no effective treatments, just a countdown. "It's impossible to say with certainty. Some patients have lived for—" "How long?" Freddie repeated, his voice firmer now. "Perhaps 2 years, maybe 5 if you're fortunate." Freddie stood up, adjusted his jacket, and extended his hand. "Thank you, doctor. I assume this conversation remains between us." "Of course." What Dr. Atkinson didn't know was that Freddie had already made a decision before he'd even entered that office.
Darling, what kind of
He wasn't going
questions
to
are you
let
on,
this
Fred?
disease define him. He wasn't going to fade away quietly, and most importantly, he wasn't going to cancel the magic tour. Queen had spent months preparing for what would be their biggest European tour. 26 shows across 9 countries. Wembley Stadium would be the final stop. 2 consecutive nights in front of 144,000 people total. The biggest shows of their career. Freddie Mercury was not going to miss it.
Only 5 people knew Freddie's diagnosis: his personal physician, his assistant Peter Freestone, his partner Jim Hutton, and 2 trusted friends outside the industry. Even Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon, his bandmates of 15 years, were kept in the dark. "They'll treat me differently," Freddie told Peter one evening at his Kensington home. "They'll look at me with pity. They'll want to wrap me in cotton wool. I can't have that. Not on stage. Not now." Peter understood. He'd been with Freddie for years, had seen him at his highest highs and lowest lows. But this was different. This wasn't a broken heart or a creative block. This was mortality, staring them both in the face. "The tour," Peter said carefully, "it's going to be physically demanding. 26 shows in 3 months. Then I'll rest between shows. I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm not canceling." What Freddie didn't tell Peter, what he didn't tell anyone, was that he'd already decided Wembley would be his last live performance ever. Not Queen's last show, his last show. He was going to say goodbye, but he was going to do it in his own way. The Magic Tour began in Stockholm on June 7, 1986. From the outside, Freddie seemed at the height of his powers. The voice was impeccable, the stage presence magnetic, the energy inexhaustible. But backstage, things were different. His losing weight, Roger mentioned to Brian after the Brussels show. Have you noticed? Brian had noticed. Everyone had noticed. But when they asked Freddie about it, he waved them off with typical Mercury deflection. "Darling, I'm just working hard. Haven't you heard? We're the biggest band in the world. It's exhausting being fabulous." They laughed. They believed him. Or perhaps they wanted to believe him. What they didn't see was Freddie in his hotel room after each show, collapsing onto his bed fully clothed, too exhausted to even remove his makeup. They didn't see Peter applying concealer to the lesions appearing on Freddie's skin. They didn't see Jim Hutton holding Freddie through panic attacks in the middle of the night. "I can make it to Wembley," Freddie whispered to Jim after a particularly difficult night in Vienna. "I just need to make it to Wembley." "And then?" Jim asked gently. Freddie was quiet for a long moment. "And then I can rest." July 11th, 1986. The first of 2 Wembley shows. Freddie stood in the tunnel leading to the stage, listening to the roar of 72,000 people. This sound, this incredible, overwhelming wall of human energy had been his drug for 2 decades. Better than any substance, any thrill, any lover. "You ready, Fred?" Brian appeared beside him, guitar in hand. Freddie turned, looked at his friend, this brilliant, kind man he'd made music with since 1970, and felt something crack inside his chest. "Always ready, dear," he said, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The show was extraordinary. One vision opened with its iconic synthesizer, and Freddie owned that stage like he owned every stage. He ran, jumped, commanded the audience with just a raised hand. He was a king in his kingdom, and for 2 hours the disease didn't exist. But during Who Wants to Live Forever, something happened. Freddie stood at center stage, the spotlight isolating him in a column of white light. Brian's guitar sang the opening notes, and as Freddie opened his mouth to sing, "There's no time for us, there's no place for us," his hand moved to his chest. It wasn't a dramatic gesture. It wasn't something the cameras caught clearly. It was just his palm, pressed flat against his heart, fingers splayed. In the audience, 72,000 people saw a performer connecting emotionally with a song. In the wings, Peter Freestone saw something else entirely. He saw Freddie touching the place where his life was ending. He saw Freddie acknowledging his mortality in the only way he could, silently, through movement, through the language of his body that had always spoken louder than words. The song continued. Who wants to live forever when love must die? Freddie's hand stayed on his chest through the entire verse. The next day, Freddie was quieter than usual. He arrived at Wembley early, walked the empty stadium alone. Peter found him standing at center stage, looking out at the empty seats. "Penny for your thoughts?" Peter asked. Freddie smiled. "I'm just trying to memorize it, every detail. The way the light comes through those windows, the smell of the grass, the feeling of this space. Fred, I know what you're going to say, And the answer is yes, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. But he wasn't fine, and they both knew it. That night's show was scheduled to be filmed for a concert video. Cameras everywhere, capturing every angle, every moment. Freddie had specifically requested this. If this was going to be his farewell, he wanted it documented. He wanted proof that he'd been here, that he'd conquered, that he'd lived fully until the very end. The show began at 8 p.m. One vision again, then Tie Your Mother Down. Song after song, each one performed with an intensity that seemed to transcend human capability. During Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie did something he'd never done before in any previous performance. As the operatic section played, as the recorded harmonies filled the stadium, Freddie walked to each corner of the stage, north, south, east, west. At each corner, he stopped, raised his hand in a gesture that looked like blessing, and stood perfectly still for exactly 5 seconds. The audience thought it was showmanship. The band thought it was a new staging choice. Only Peter, watching from the wings, understood what it really was. Freddie was saying goodbye to every direction, to every person, to the whole world.
The final song. The moment Harry had been building toward all night. We Are the Champions began with Freddie seated at the piano, his fingers on the keys, his voice, that incredible voice, filling every corner of Wembley Stadium. I've paid my dues time after time. 72,000 people sang with him. But if you watch the footage closely, if you really pay attention, you can see the moment it happens. As Freddie reaches the chorus, "We are the champions, my friends," he stands from the piano. He walks to center stage, and then he does something extraordinary. He stops singing. For 8 full seconds during the final chorus, Freddie Mercury's microphone is silent. He stands there, arms spread wide, as 72,000 people sing his words back to him. The cameras captured his face. If you look carefully, you can see his lips moving, not singing, but saying something else entirely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Nobody in that audience knew what those 8 seconds meant. They thought he was having a moment of connection, letting the audience participate. They had no idea they were witnessing a farewell. When the song ended, when the final note faded into the London night, Freddie stood at the edge of the stage for a long moment. Brian, Roger, and John joined him. They waved, they bowed, they soaked in the applause. And then Freddie did one final thing. He knelt down. On one knee at center stage, he touched his hand to the floor of Wembley Stadium. He stayed there for 3 seconds. Then he stood, turned, and walked off stage for the last time. The dressing room after the show was chaos. Champagne, laughter, adrenaline. Everyone was high on the success of the 2 nights. "Best shows we've ever done," Roger said, clapping Freddie on the back. "Absolutely brilliant," Brian agreed. Freddie smiled, accepted their praise, posed for photos with the crew. But when everyone started talking about the next leg of the tour, about future plans, Freddie quietly slipped away. Peter found him 20 minutes later in an empty corridor, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, still in his stage clothes. He was crying, not the gentle tears of emotion. These were deep, body-shaking sobs, the kind that come from a place so deep that they hurt on the way out. Peter sat beside him without a word. "I did it," Freddie said, finally, his voice broken. "I made it. I gave them everything I had." "You did," Peter confirmed. "And now it's over." Yes. They sat in silence for a long time. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the crew breaking down equipment, the sound of a chapter closing. "Peter," Freddie said quietly, "don't let them remember me sick. Whatever happens, however bad it gets, I want them to remember this, tonight, when I was strong. I promise." Freddie wiped his eyes, stood up, adjusted his jacket. By the time he returned to the dressing room, the smile was back in place. The mask was secure. Nobody knew that Freddie Mercury had just performed his last live concert. Queen didn't perform live again with Freddie Mercury. There were plans, of course, tours discussed, shows proposed, but one by one they fell away. Freddie gave excuses, scheduling conflicts, studio commitments, the need for a break. In 1987, Queen released the Miracle album. In 1991, Innuendo. Both recorded while Freddie was actively dying, but he never took the stage again. Brian May said years later in an interview, "Looking back at Wembley '86, there were signs. The way he performed, the intensity of it. It was like he was trying to pack a lifetime into one night. We just didn't know why." Roger Taylor added, "He gave us everything that night, absolutely everything. I've watched the footage 1,000 times, and every time I see something new, some little gesture, some moment where you can feel him saying goodbye." When Freddie died on November 24, 1991, the world mourned the loss of one of rock's greatest voices. But for those who'd been at Wembley on July 12, 1986, there was something else mixed with the grief. They'd been there. They'd witnessed his final triumph. They'd sung his words back to him in his last moment of glory.
Today, the footage of Wembley '86 is considered one of the greatest live performances ever recorded. Music scholars analyze every moment. Freddie's voice hitting impossible notes, his stage presence, his connection with the audience. But very few people notice the small gestures. The hand on the chest during Who Wants to Live Forever. The blessing at each corner of the stage during Bohemian Rhapsody, the kneeling and touching the stage floor at the end. Peter Freestone revealed these details years later in his memoir. Jim Hutton confirmed them in his autobiography. Together, they painted a picture of a man who knew his time was limited and chose to spend it doing what he loved most, being Freddie Mercury. Being a performer, being an artist. In 2019, a fan who'd attended the July 12th concert posted on social media. She'd been 16 years old in the nosebleed seats, barely able to see the stage, but she remembered the feeling. "I can't explain it," she wrote, "but something felt different that night. Like Freddie was performing not just for us, but for himself. Like he needed us to remember him exactly as he was in that moment. Untouchable, brilliant, alive." She was right, of course. That's exactly what he needed. At Freddie Mercury's funeral, Brian May gave a eulogy. He spoke about their friendship, their music, their decades together. But he ended with a memory from Wembley. "The last time Freddie walked off a stage," Brian said, "he knelt down and touched the floor. At the time, I thought it was just showmanship. Now I know what it was. It was gratitude. It was reverence.
It was Freddie thanking the stage for giving him a place to be himself. Brian's voice cracked, and I think wherever he is now, he's still thankful, still grateful for every moment we gave him and every moment he gave us. 72,000 people watched Freddie Mercury's final live performance, but only 5 people knew they were watching a goodbye. Now you
So he's been a tower of energy, really.
If this story
And I find
moved
it,
you, if you
working
want
with
to
him,
honor Freddie's
he always
memory,
gets the best out of
subscribe
you. He drives
and
you
hit that like button.
and
Share
inspires
this
those
with
around.
someone who needs to hear it. Comment below with your favorite Freddie Mercury moment. And don't forget that notification bell for more untold stories about the legends who shaped our world.